Marcus Aurelius is regarded as one of the best men who ever lived in history. Not only was he a great emperor of Rome, but he also wrote one of the best pieces of literature in existence, Meditations. If you aren't aware, the book is filled with passages that drastically alter the way you look at your life. It's been profoundly life-changing for me to read, and I encourage you to go buy a copy from your nearest bookstore and begin reading today. Now, let's get to the video. Marcus Aurelius says, "Everything is interwoven and the web is holy. None of its parts are unconnected. They are composed harmoniously, and together they compose the world." Take a minute to think about this. Why are you here today? At some point, your parents, well, we don't have to get into that, but at some point your parents had you, and some years ago, your parents were born as well. Think about how coincidental it is that all the pieces aligned. Your parents meeting each other by some kind of circumstance. Say they met each other working for, let's say, a law firm. Now think, how did that law firm come into existence? Going with what Marcus Aurelius had to say, everything truly is interwoven. Here's another quote that may help gain more perspective on this topic. "Whatever happens to you has been waiting to happen since the beginning of time. The twining strands of fate wove both of them together, your own existence and the things that happened to you." You have to assemble your life yourself, action by action, and be satisfied if each one achieves its goal as far as it can. No one can keep that from happening. This is something that we can all constantly remind ourselves. We can make an impact on the world, but more importantly, our own lives. We all often forget that we have the ability to change certain aspects of our lives. Of course, there are certain things outside of our control, such as our genetics, but other than that, we do have the ability to assemble our lives the way we want. Not to say that it will be easy, but it is possible. And that is what matters most, that it can be done. But if you accept the obstacle and work with what you're given, an alternative will present itself, another piece of what you're trying to assemble, action by action. A quote from Marcus Aurelius you may have heard of is, "The obstacle is the way." This is what he means by it. Accept what is in front of you and try to work around it. Move the obstacle if you can. If you can't, move around it. If you ultimately cannot overcome the obstacle, accept that you tried your best and that nothing more can be done. What is it in ourselves that we should prize? Not just transpiration, or respiration, or being struck by passing thoughts, or jerked around like a puppet by your own impulses, or moving in herds, or eating and relieving yourself afterwards. Then what is to be prized? I think it's this: to do what we were designed for. Now, you may ask yourself, what am I designed for? Well, the answer is simple. For generations and generations, humans have attempted to learn as much as possible within one lifetime and improve the quality of life for the human race, even just by one simple step. Think of Einstein and his theory of relativity, or think of Thomas Edison and the light bulb, or even look as closely as the grocery store employee who makes your sandwich. As I said in the previous rule, everyone plays a part in weaving the human race together. So to answer the question of what you're designed for, you were designed to make things happen for the human race. You could act for good and lift others up, create opportunity for them, or you could act for evil, tear things down and make them tougher. Either is acceptable. Just remember that everyone plays a role in weaving together the human race, including you. To live life in peace, immune to all compulsion. Let them scream whatever they want. Let animals dismember the soft flesh that covers you. How would any of that stop you from keeping your mind calm, reliably sizing up what's around you, and ready to make good use of whatever happens? So that judgment can look the event in the eye and say, this is what you really are, regardless of what you may look like. While adaptability adds, you're just what I was looking for. We've all encountered people who can easily get into our heads. Whether it's something they do or say to us, we let them in and spend a disappointing amount of time thinking about whatever it is. The solution is simple. See that spending your time thinking about imaginary events is wasteful of your time, and don't treat your time like it's something you should give away easily. You exist in history only once, so spend your time doing things wisely. If you're still holding on to some emotions from past experiences, ask yourself if it's really worth holding on to. As for the judgment and adaptability part of the quote, this is my interpretation. With judgment, we can look at the person for who they are. Say that they're a nasty person to be around that consistently behaves poorly. Then why are you so surprised that they have acted this way again? You know how these people consistently behave, yet you still choose to get worked up over the little things that are to be expected. As for the adaptability part of the quote, my interpretation of that is similar to what I said before. Your fate has been woven since the beginning of time, and you have happened to cross paths with this person. Deal with them gently and don't let them get the better of you. To feel affection for people even when they make mistakes is uniquely human. You can do it if you simply recognize that they're human too, that they act out of ignorance against their will, and that you'll both be dead before long. And, above all, that they haven't really hurt you. They haven't diminished your ability to choose. This is something I like to keep in my mind every day. It applies to so many things in life. Being able to choose is the best ability we were born with as humans, and we are all able to choose what we wish to do with our lives. It doesn't matter how many insults are thrown our way because none of them affect our ability to choose. We have the choice of how we can respond to certain things, and nobody can take that from us unless you let them. Close to forgetting it all, close to being forgotten. Our time in history is extremely brief. At some point, we will be forgotten. Even all of humankind one day will be forgotten if we end up going extinct. So why care about things like money, fame, or the opinions of others? Why hold others' opinions higher than your own? Because our time spent alive is so brief, spend it living a life you can enjoy. Be honest with yourself and don't live a life you aren't happy with. You always have the ability to choose how to live your life. When people injure you, ask yourself what good or harm they thought would come of it. If you understand that, you'll feel sympathy rather than outrage or anger. Your sense of good and evil may be the same as theirs, or near it, in which case you have to excuse them. Or your sense of good and evil may differ from theirs, in which case they're misguided and deserve your compassion. Is that so hard? That you've made enough mistakes yourself. You are just like them. It's important to realize that the human experience is shared by everyone because we're all human. As much as you may think you're special, you're still cut from the same cloth as everyone else. Yes, we all do have unique traits that are exclusive to ourselves, such as the face we were born with or our height or eye color. But other than that, many experiences are shared between everyone. The one that we can all relate with is that at one point we were born and at one point we will die. Try to find the similarities between you and people who are misguided. There are probably many more than you think. Also acknowledge the fact that you could just as easily be misguided in the same way that they are. And how trivial the things we want so passionately are, and how much more philosophical it would be to take what we're given and show uprightness, self-control, obedience to God, without making a production of it. There's nothing more insufferable than people who boast about their own humility. My understanding of that first line is that our desires, things like greed, fame, any desire of that sort, are all fleeting and temporary. It's much better to take a stand where you're stationed and not make a fuss of it. In Marcus Aurelius' eyes, events were either one of two things, random or caused by God. You don't have to think of God in the typical sense, just think of God as the weaving of events that caused you to be where you are now. Anyways, what this line means to me is that you should accept whatever happens to you rather than complaining, because complaining won't accomplish anything. As for the last line, a good example of this is giving to the homeless. It's undoubtedly a good deed because you're helping the well-being of others by sacrificing a bit of your own. But that deed becomes twisted when you go and tell everyone how good of a person you are. The reward doesn't lie in what others think of you. It lies in the action itself. Improving the well-being of others is a reward enough, so don't go around touting about how much of a change you're making to the world. Just do it. It's all in how you perceive it. You're in control. You can dispense with misperception at will, like rounding the point. Serenity, total calm, safe anchorage. We all cling to misperceptions at one point or another. The definition of misperception is a wrong or incorrect understanding or interpretation. Most of the time we have this problem, we wrongly accept an opinion that's given to us by other people, usually people who have some sort of authority or who we look up to. It's no surprise that it would be difficult to get rid of our misperceptions because we've tied a piece of our identity with it. But don't forget that you're in control of your mind, and nothing will harm you by ridding yourself of any misperception. Open yourself up to exploring new ideas. Restricting knowledge is restricting growth, and if you really cared about the well-being of yourself and others, you would open yourself up to hearing new perspectives. You've lived as a citizen in a great city, 5 years or 100, what's the difference? The laws make no distinction. And to be sent away from it, not by a tyrant or a dishonest judge, but by nature, who first invited you in. Why is that so terrible? Like the impresario ringing down the curtain on an actor. But I've only gotten 3 acts. Yes, this will be a drama in 3 acts. The length fixed by the power that directed your creation and now directs your dissolution. Neither was yours to determine. So make your exit with grace, the same grace shown to you. Nobody alive now asked to be. Nature wove together our genes and gave us a body that our soul can inhabit. Our birth was fated to occur since the very beginning of time, and all of the actions of not just our own ancestors, but everyone on earth caused things to play out the way they are now. Whether we're in this life for 5 more years or 100, we shouldn't worry. Like Marcus Aurelius says, the length is fixed by the power that directed your creation and now directs your dissolution. Neither was yours to determine, so make your exit with grace. One final quote on the subject of a higher power, God, nature, or whatever you may believe in. People ask, have you ever seen the gods you worship? How can you be sure they exist? Answers, just look around you. I've never seen my soul either, and yet I revere it. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. I also want you to know that I don't intend to push my beliefs onto you. These are all just the best takeaways I got from the book. So if you found anything interesting or of use to you, I'm glad it helped. Take what you will, leave what you want. It's all good to me. But anyways, I will see you again in 2 weeks.